I'm just going to come out and say it. Standing up here and talking in front of a group of people is absolutely terrifying for me. It's something I've never done before, and it's taken a lot of pep talks from my mom and a lot of me just sitting down and accepting the fact that I was nervous, but I was going to have to deal with it and get through it. Because this is something I've never done before, something I wouldn't have seen myself doing in a million years, because I've always been a pretty shy girl. But I told myself that I was going to do it, and I was going to commit to it. I was going to try something new. And that's the point of this talk. A comfort zone is defined by psychology today as a psychological, emotional, behavioral construct that defines our routine. I feel this definition has both pessimistic and positive aspects to it. The word construct and defines kind of put a negative connotation on a comfort zone, when it does have a lot of positive aspects. A comfort zone provides us with stability. In a world where so much is changing and there's so much stress, waking up every morning, knowing you're doing the same thing every day, can be extremely reassuring. And when parts of our routine are good, say exercise or healthy meals, staying in this routine doesn't do so much bad for us, especially when leaving the comfort zone might involve something illegal or something that's just going to harm our body. That's when staying in it is the right decision. However, there comes a point when the comfort zone gets too comfortable, and this is when we're making excuses for ourselves. We make excuses by saying, oh, we're too scared to step out of our comfort zone. It's not going to work. We might not like it. But the only way to truly experience life is to step out of the comfort zone. Our true life is the sum of all the events we experience. It's losses, it's relationships, it's promotions, it's family, it's friends. It's not the same routine that we do every day. It's not our monotonous activities, waking up, going to school, going to bed. It's all of our experiences. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and pretend that I have such an easy time getting out of my comfort zone, because I don't. I only ever did clubs and activities that I knew my best friend was doing too. Our moms always called each other and we checked, like, hey, is your daughter going to do this? Because mine doesn't want to do it alone. I went through a lot of different sports. I did lacrosse and field hockey, basketball and tennis, and I hated them all. I only played about 1 to 2 seasons before I quit. I'd never been good at committing to anything. I did all of these sports, and though it was annoying and I feel like I wasted a lot of time, I view it as a sort of trial and error process on the way to me finding what I really love, which is running. At the end of 8th grade, I decided I'm going to do cross country in the fall. And that was pretty terrifying for me because, as you saw, I played so many sports and I'd never been able to actually stick to one. But I started running when I was in 4th grade, which is up there in the top left. And I went through all these other sports thinking that I needed to do sports that were more popular. And I did them, and I hated them. But that process is what brought me to what I truly love. This was an extremely difficult decision for me, considering how difficult of a time I had committing to all of the previous sports. I knew that my practices were going to be more mentally and physically exhausting than the casual sunset runs I often found myself on down the shore. I knew that I didn't have really much prior running experience. I mean, I ran by myself sometimes around my neighborhood, but it wasn't the same. And I knew the other girls on the team were going to be faster than me. And a lot of days it was really hard for me to get to practice. I would go through the day just nauseous because I was so scared about what I was going to have to do that afternoon. Because I didn't think I could keep up, and I just knew I was going to have to push my body in ways that it hadn't been pushed before. I was scared that I was going to be alone because everyone was going to be better than me. But it's been an experience that I, so far, as a sophomore, have not regretted. And I've only done 2 seasons, but I've loved them. And even though I was more nervous for my first day of practice than my first day of high school, the benefits I've reaped from it have been amazing. I've grown mentally stronger in the perseverance and stamina I developed. Because now when I'm faced with an obstacle, I know, well, if I was able to run this time or farther than I thought, I can deal with this. It's not that big of a deal. And I'm more physically fit than I was before, and because of that, I feel better about myself. And I feel accomplished when I've run some new distance. It's easy to feel like you're alone, like stepping out of your comfort zone. Everyone's going to be watching you, and they're going to know you're new, and they're going to know you're not used to this, but that's not ever the case. My friends have been there for me. My mom's the first person I tell when I run a new far distance or get a new time. She's always willing to drive me to the park when I get sick of running by my house or just want somewhere new to go. My coach helped me grow into a stronger runner instead of condemning me for lack of prior experience. 90% of people are too scared to step out of their comfort zone. I think this statistic comes from the fact that a lot of people think stepping out of your comfort zone has to be a huge deal. But that's a misconception. It doesn't have to be something huge. Stepping out of our comfort zone can come from even the most minute activities. You could read a new genre of a book. If you're a busy person and you don't have a lot of time in your day to add some new 2-hour-long activity, you can do 10 minutes of yoga or meditation at the end. Something so simple can change your life. You could wear a new color to school that day. Who knows, you might like it. You could try a new dish at a restaurant. Even your favorite food was new to you at one point. I mean, I didn't know chocolate lava cake was my favorite dessert until I ordered it one time. You can always try a new route too when you're hiking or running, which is something I like to do to switch it up. And in doing this every day, when you realize that today feels just like it did the day before and the day before and the day before, and your weeks are feeling long, you can recognize this repetitive process and make an effort to change it. Now, this just goes to show that getting out of your comfort zone doesn't have to be something big, but it can be. There's millions of adults all across the world that go to work hating their job, under the dominion of controlling bosses, with low satisfaction from what they're doing, feeling like they're not making enough of an impact, or their wages are too low, or their job is too time-consuming. And a lot of people don't go and change their career because they say, well, I've established myself. It's too late in time for me to go back and change. I'm too old to go back to school. I'm too old to get a new job. But this is false. A study conducted by Harvard concluded that the brain is constantly making new connections as long as you continue to challenge it. This means that whether you're 16, you're 26, or you're 56, it's never too late to go back and make a big change. You can go back to school, you can change your career, and just imagine what could happen if you made this big change. If you hate your job and it makes every day miserable for you, you have the ability, you have the power to do something about that. You don't have to live in this misery, and you can make a change and discover now you love what you're doing. And it could bring you a lot of joy and happiness. It's making these small steps that makes the bigger ones easier because we become accustomed to changing things in our life. We recognize that we've been doing the same thing and we choose to do something about it. And then when we come to that point in time where we're not happy anymore with the way that our life is going, we can change it. I thought, coming to high school, it was too late for me to do a new sport, but I thought, I should join because I need a variety of extracurriculars. I can't just have academic ones. I should have something physical, and I want to stay in shape, and I want to meet people. So, I joined, and I thought 9th grade was too late. But that's not the case, and it's the same exact thing for a job. I want to preface the benefits that I'm about to say of stepping out of your comfort zone by saying it's really easy to see the good in staying in the comfort zone. You can think, well, why would I bother stepping out? I know that there are things to be attained from this, but I'm too scared. And it's just going to cause me a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. But the only way to get over this fear, or at least make it less of an obstacle, is to continue to do things that scare us. Franklin D. Roosevelt's "the only thing we have to fear is fear itself" is extremely applicable in this situation. If we don't do the things that scare us, we're always going to be scared. We're going to stay in our little bubble, and we're not going to leave it. Because fear's never going to go away. It's always going to be something that we have to deal with. But if we do things that frighten us, things that make us uncomfortable, then we get used to being uncomfortable, and it's not so terrifying anymore. I think in joining cross country and doing something new might have been what has allowed me to do this, because I know that I've done something new in the past, I can do something now, and it might work out. In challenging ourselves, we develop the resources that we need to deal with challenge in the future, whether this challenge is foreseen or not. You could lose your job and then realize, oh, this job just isn't working out for me. I don't, even if you like it, it's not providing for you as you need, and you're forced to make a change. Well, if you hadn't become used to making these small changes in the past and challenging yourself in the past, dealing with this unforeseen impediment would be a lot more difficult. But now you have the equipment. When we do things that are outside of our comfort zone, we force ourselves to adapt. And we force ourselves to do things that we don't really want to. But it's just that makes the fear less of an issue, because now we know that we can do anything that we want, no matter how scary, because we're used to it. And we have the power to make that change. In my opinion, though, while overcoming fear is obviously extremely important, the best benefit of stepping out of your comfort zone is self-knowledge. A lot of people don't really have a sense of who they are or what they want to be, but the only way to learn about what you like, what you dislike, what's good for you, what's bad for you, what to avoid, is to try new things. And it might sound cliche, but like I said, you're never going to know what new food you might love unless you try it at one point. Now, I'm a sophomore now, but I'm going to be a junior next year, and my mom wants to take me to look at colleges. And I told her, and a lot of my family members asked me, like, so what do you think you're going to want to do in college, like after college? What kind of career do you want? And I always say, I don't know. And I feel bad about that, because I know, a lot of my friends or a lot of my peers know what they want to do, or at least they have some kind of idea of what they want to do, and I just don't know. But my mom says to me that, it's okay if you don't know what you want to do, because knowing what you don't like is just as important as knowing what you do. Because knowing the things that are bad for you and the things to stay away from are how we discover the things that we truly love. And that happened for me with the other sports that I played. Trying those activities and realizing that they weren't for me is what brought me to running, which today is my biggest love-hate relationship. You have to step out of your comfort zone to discover things about yourself. And discovering things about ourselves makes making decisions in the future easier, because now when we're confronted with a decision, like picking a career, if we've tried activities, tried new classes that have to do with that big decision, we can utilize our knowledge about ourselves and ultimately pick, well, based on what I know about myself, based on what I know, what I've hated in the past and what I've loved in the past, which decision is probably going to be the best for me. And then you can pick it, because now you know more about yourself. And then you could hate that decision, but you overcame fear. Now, I was extremely lucky that my experience with cross country has been so rewarding. I got stamina, and as I mentioned, I grew physically and mentally stronger. But not everyone's so lucky, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you that you're going to have a good experience every time, because you might not. You could step out of your comfort zone and wish you never left it. There are things to be lost: time, money, sleep, peace of mind, but those are all temporary. The things you lose in embarking on some new endeavor are temporary. If I've tried cross country and hated it, I lost some time, some energy, but it was one season and I would have moved on with my life. But the things that you gain, which are your new mental capabilities, your new willingness to overcome fear and to deal with challenge, your new knowledge about yourself and understanding of who you are as a person, those stick with you. Those stick with you as you grow throughout the future. It's never too late to embark on the journey of change, old or young. You have the power to make sure no 24-hour sequence of events truly ever repeats itself. Because every day you can do something different, even if it scares you. You can do it, because there's always something to be gained from it. And like I said, it's easy to just say, well, you know what? I know that there are things to be gained, but I would rather just stay where I'm comfortable. But the self-knowledge that we gain and learning about who we are in stepping out of our comfort zone is the only way to become our most authentic selves. And I just want to put this up here. There's no such thing as failure. You could try something new and feel like you failed because you didn't do well and, you realized it wasn't for you. But you didn't fail. It was just your first attempt at learning. Because now you know that thing wasn't good for you. And now you know how to deal with this change. And in dealing with the change and learning about ourselves, we grow and we adapt and we become who we want to be. Thank you.